Do you remember your first tweet?
Yeah, I do. Oh, you want to say it? Okay. She a low-key a hoe.
Can we say that? Okay.
That was a while back.
How has Twitter changed throughout the years?
Twitter has changed. A lot of politics got involved in Twitter, a lot, and just like Twitter has actually gotten funnier. That's what I like about it, and the videos are kind of funny to watch.
Has it changed the way you socially interact with people?
Not really, to be honest. Like, I'm really an outgoing person, so I talk to everyone. Even like maybe I DM some people, but like I still talk to them in person.
How do you predict it will develop in the future?
How Twitter will develop?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like for some reason I feel like Twitter's gonna get easier to follow people. Like you can just like touch phones and then follow each other or something like that. But yeah.
Do you think these will have any impacts on society?
To be honest, I don't know.
Do you remember your first tweet?
Yeah, I said, "Hey Twitter, it's Nikki." Finally on Twitter.
Wow, that's a lot of Twitter in one sentence. How has the Twitter changed?
Twitter has changed because like there's a lot more like exploring with like news or like entertainment, sports, music, stuff like that. So there's a lot more like things you can explore.
Okay, do you interact differently with people?
Not necessarily. Like, I mean, the face-to-face interactions with people in real life is still different from like Twitter because people can just have Twitter fingers.
Have you ever had any conflict with people on Twitter?
This one time after a rival game with Cy Falls, I tweeted that how Cy Falls suck and we beat them, and so a lot of Cy Falls people were trying to argue back at me on Twitter. So.
Wow. Should have threw some hands. Now, how do you think Twitter will progress in the next years or so?
Honestly, Twitter is probably my favorite social media platform, and I think that it's still evolving, as in like there's different aspects that they can add to like the app and the platform itself. Like, I think it's definitely better than like Facebook or any other, Instagram, stuff like that. So.
Okay. Last question. Do you think Twitter has an effect on society?
Most definitely. I think there's a lot of biased people on Twitter that like people can just get their information, like their news on Twitter, and so like it might not be like the full truth of like certain things, like political things or just all these activists and stuff like that. It's just, I think it could be very biased towards certain topics.
So, David, do you remember your first tweet?
Actually, I don't remember my first tweet. It kind of... Okay. Actually, I don't remember my first tweet. Sorry about that.
It's fine. How has Twitter changed since you've used it?
Twitter's pretty much become more of a user-friendly friend base. So when I first started using Twitter, it was kind of hard to use. The controls were all out of whack and things just didn't seem in place. Didn't seem like it was able for me to be used on the regular. But now Twitter has become more of a user-friendly friend base, right? By that, I mean most of the audience here, everybody behind us, they probably use Twitter in some way or fashion. It's a great resource to get all your news and things like that.
Yeah. Do you interact differently with people with Twitter, on Twitter?
Of course, I like to crack jokes here and there, but nothing too out of the norm. I like to show my inner side, as you say. I'm more sheltered on the outside when I'm talking to people, but on the internet, I feel like we can be ourselves without having to talk to people face to face. Maybe that's a fault in communication within our society, but right now on Twitter and on the internet, it's a great way to share your true self without fearing ridicule.
Good. Now, how is your anime addiction transferred to your Twitter tweets?
Well, my anime addiction, of course, started when I was much younger. And I was always a little bit scared of showing that side of me, but as I've matured and learned that everybody has a certain quirk about themselves, I've learned to accept that and incorporate that into my daily life, right? Being Twitter, school, Instagram, whatever you call it. I've learned to make that a habit of not letting myself be too compressed on the inside, you know?
Yeah. Now, how do you predict Twitter will develop in the future?
Twitter as a website, I feel, will be more accessible to different platforms, right? So now we're using it on our phones, on our computers, and mostly those two mediums. But as it progresses, I see maybe within the next 5 years, it'll be more available on our maybe gaming consoles or maybe even our cars, who knows? But yes, the Twitter access is going to be widened. The spectrum of it, the way you'd be able to use it in your daily life will be transformed completely.
Last question. How do you think it affects society?
I feel Twitter affects society by giving them another news access, another way to access just anything in general. Maybe.
Now, do you remember your first phone/tweet?
My first phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first phone.
What was it?
It was a Nokia flip phone.
Wow. Okay. Do
Yeah.
you remember your first tweet?
Nah, I don't remember my first tweet.
Okay. How has the program Twitter developed since you've been using it?
I think, other than the format's gotten better, night mode's pretty cool. It's become politically charged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you interact differently with people because of Twitter?
Because of Twitter?
Yeah.
Probably not Twitter necessarily, but social media in general, probably. It's probably added to my social anxiety.
Oh my God.
I know our generation interacting with people is hard because we're always in our phones.
Okay, how do you predict Twitter will develop in the future?
I think it'll be like Facebook and they'll get exposed by the FBI for stealing our information.
Oh my God. Okay. Will these
Like
changes?
Facebook did.
Okay. Will these changes have any effect on society?
I don't know. Maybe I think the generations are just gonna get worse, and it's pretty bad for ours. So I don't know how that's gonna go.
So you're blaming Twitter for?
I'm not necessarily blaming Twitter. I'm blaming social media culture in general.
I feel like I'm being cyberbullied right now.
Oh, do you remember your first phone/tweet?
I've never tweeted anything. My first phone was a landline because I'm old.
So,
I had rotary phone. That's how old I am.
so do you know I follow you on Twitter? But I unfollowed you because you don't post any content. But
Yeah. So I don't tweet, so I don't care who follows me. I just do that to get messages from school and so on.
now with social media, do you think you interact differently with people?
I don't really interact much on social media at all, so not really.
Jesus, Milstein. Okay. How do you predict it will develop in the future?
I have no idea. I don't understand why people waste all their time on social media to begin with. I put pictures of my kid on Facebook so that people can look at my kid, and that's about the extent of it, and I don't do it all that often.
Okay, so how do you feel about the Just Milstein tweets about you last year?
I think it's creepy that kids are writing down what I say and sharing it with other people, and it might get me in trouble, so I wish they wouldn't do it.
It's hilarious though. Thank you.
I'm Millie rock on any block. 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 2 Millie in my polo tee, my polo socks. Let's get it. On top of cars, my face hot.
Did you used to say you look like Beyonce?
Nah, they usually say I look like Shalissa.
Who the fuck is that?
Me, nigga.
What?
Stop! You could have made me draw my croissant.
There's only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom.
A child.
Worse than a rapist. Boom.
A child.
No.
Sausage and mushroom pizza.
Now, do you remember your first tweet?
Yes.
What was it?
Do you remember your first tweet?
Oh, my name is Samuel.
Ah! Stop! You could have made me.